Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope that you people are feeling well. The focus of this chapter, which is chapter number 6 of your book. So it's the chapter's title is Customers Value Driven Marketing Strategy, Creating Value for Target Customers. So the focus is, as you remember from the first chapter, we've been discussing that the focus of marketing nowadays is to offer value to the customer, building loyalty and engaging customers. So the focus is on how can I give the customers a product of value, how can I provide value to the customers. So this chapter will be focusing on some very important strategies, including in your final exam, so make sure that you pay special attention. We'll be focusing on some strategies and some important tools that the marketers or the companies can use in order to develop marketing strategies which are value driven by the customers. The book starts with the case of a company, a very old company by the name of Persil. Yeah, the name of the company is Persil. It's Henkel Persil, and in this particular case, they mentioned the story of Saudi Arabia or Middle Eastern countries. I will get back to the story in a while, but I want to show you a glimpse of the company, that what the company is and when did it start and what are their products. So I'll take you to Google. I've already Googled for you. So if you see, let me put it in a proper scale. Now, if you see, this is a company. The name of the company is Henkel or Persil company, and their tagline is, or their they say that excellence is our passion. If you see, the company started in 1907, so it's a very old company. It's one of the first companies that they came up with an amazing idea in making detergents where the detergents would act in such a way that it would not damage the fabric, and it would clean the fabric as well. So further searching the company, I also found that the company particularly is a German company, as you can see here. Let me shrink it down so that you can see it properly on this part. As you can see on this part, the company is a German company by the name of Henkel and Unilever, a very famous name. The company is operating in a lot of markets, as you can see here. The company is operating in a number of markets, but our focus will be on this part. As you can see, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Egypt, and particularly this part is related to the case in the book. So, but it's one of the companies that they're pioneers in when it comes to providing detergents. They're pioneers in marketing research and targeting consumers in a way that provides value to them. I will also tell you a few things with regard to the company, why they became successful, a German company successful in Saudi Arabia. So I have jotted down few important key points for you that we'll be highlighting in a while. But the key point and the main point here in this particular case is that they act local. Now, those of you who don't understand this word, I will show you the meaning of this word in a while. It's global. So if you are a company which is operating internationally, cross-culturally, cross-borders, so you have to act local. If you want to act local, what will happen? You will become a success in the market. So the company like Persil, Henkel Persil, what made them successful? Extensive marketing research and deep understanding of the consumers, because as we mentioned in consumer behaviors that there are many factors that play an important role with regard to consumers behaving differently. For example, consumers from different cultures behave differently. For example, consumers of different age group, different income level, different education level, all these different variables make the consumers behave differently. So being a good company, what you have to do is you have to understand the consumers, the preferences of the consumers, and the needs of the consumers. Now, some of the other points in this particular case that I want to show you the word global, as I mentioned to you. What is global? It is blending global understanding with local implementation. So if you're an international company, you don't have to let go your global style, but you have to blend in the local style as well. For example, a German company marketing or targeting in their advertisement people wearing juba or abaya. I don't think you can see that in Germany. You cannot see this type of a company's promotion in the non-Muslim countries or in the countries with diversely different culture. So see, what did they do? They are still focusing on the same detergent, but they changed their marketing strategies, targeting people from that particular area. And in the advertisement, they are in front of you, as you can see. The actors are a true representation of the Middle Eastern culture, particularly Saudi Arabia. So global understanding and local implementation is the key point. Now, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, what Henkel did is they went to first they did extensive research in order to understand the Saudi Arabian culture and the people. Followed by that, they introduced shampoo for women. But what shampoo? The shampoo for abaya. They call it Persil abaya shampoo. It was a huge success because what happened in this particular instance of the shampoo is that it would keep the shine and the beauty and the black color of the abayas particularly, and it will clean the abaya as well. They also produced a white liquid detergent and a spray for starch, a starch spray for men. Now this was the first time by any detergent company targeting men in Saudi Arabia. They were expecting, I'll come back to this one, I'll come back to the point in a while. They were expecting a particular growth in sales and market, and how much, what happened when they start producing the product or providing the product commercially. It surpasses by 90% of their forecast. They were forecasting something within only 4 months. Their sales were 90% more than what they forecasted. So why it happened and how did they come up with this huge growth? Because of understanding the needs of the local market. You have to mold your marketing strategies based on the demands of the people in the local market, based on their culture, based on their likeness and dislikeness, and all is possible based on your chapter number 2 of your book, if you remember, that is on extensive marketing research. You just don't go and market a product, a German product in Saudi Arabia. You need to have an extensive marketing research. Without marketing research, the chances are your global product would be a big failure. As I mentioned earlier, that the Persil White and Persil Starch Spray for Men was the first in the laundry product in the in GCC in the area for men. Now, what happened here is that the company Henkel Persil, their marketing strategy was applied, which served as an excellent example of how the mix of global technology and scale can be combined with the local and regional marketing strategy. So I'm highlighting this point because this is a very important point, how the mix of global technology and scale can be combined with the local and regional marketing strategy. Again, I'm emphasizing on the point where you do not have to let go your global technology and your identity in the global market, but you have to have a blend of the local and the regional market in order to be successful. So that was about the case of the Henkel Persil company. Perhaps those of you who are interested in businesses, or those of you who already have businesses and you want to target a group of customers from a different area, be it in even in a single country. In a single country, in different states, we see different cultures, different blends and different tastes. So even if, of course, the more you go international or global, the diversity increases. But even in a single country, in different states, you find quite a lot of diversity. So you have to target them based on the market research and offer them product based on their likeness, and based on their dislikeness. You have to withdraw those things from the ingredients which are culturally offensive or which are regionally not acceptable, and you have to include those things which are culturally and regionally acceptable. Now, the focus of our this chapter would be on four important things, four important topics of marketing. We have already briefly discussed these topics, but today we are going to discuss them in more detail. These are extremely important topics in marketing when you want to become a successful company. These are the basics of marketing, and if you don't follow these in marketing, you may not become a very successful company. Today, particularly in this first part of the lecture, our focus would be on these two, which are segmentation and targeting. And inshallah, in the next class, our focus would be on the differentiation and positioning. You have to have a blend of all these four in order to create value for the customers. Let's briefly talk about these four strategies and these four topics of marketing. What segmentation is? Segmentation. Now, if you recall back in consumer behavior chapter, I have already mentioned in the beginning of this virtual lecture as well that consumers behave differently with regard to many things. So it is extremely important for a company to group them together in order to approach them in a more effective manner. Now, when you group the consumers or the customers together based on the homogeneity, based on the similarity they have in their characteristics and many other things, when you group them together, we call that segmentation. So what is segmentation? It is grouping the customers together based on the similarities in their characteristics, based on their homogeneity, or dividing the whole market into group of into small clusters of people, those people who are having similar likes and dislikes, similar tastes, and similar preferences. So as you see here, even in the slide, they say that segmentation is to divide the total market into smaller segments. Now, if I take an example of your class, usually the sisters or the female will sit on the right side, on my right side, and the males or the brothers will sit on the left side of the class. So the whole class is one complete market. It is not suggested being a producer, being a company, to target the whole class depending on my product. What if my product is related to only one small portion of the customer? So targeting the whole class or whole 40 or 50 students, that will waste a lot of my resources and my energy. So what I have to do is now I have to divide the market, divide this class, the example that I'm giving you, based on the similarity. So a very clear similarity or homogeneity that we can see in the class in these two portions is, on one side we have males, on another side we have females. So the quick division of the class would be in these two clusters. And as you can see right now, the class is divided into two clusters, the males and the females. So these can be two segments. Now, depending on the type of products that you have, you can now easily approach these smaller segments compared to a bigger market. For instance, if I am the producer of lipstick, that's what the normal example I give in the class as well. If I'm the producer of a lipstick, and now in front of me is this whole class or this whole market, assume that this class is a market. Now just imagine, if I'm the producer of a lipstick and I start from my left side, which are the brother sides, and there are around 20 brothers, for instance, so I'd be approaching each one of them one by one, each one of the males one by one, and certainly they would reject the lipstick. Most of them would reject the lipstick. So what I'm doing is
I'm approaching them, I'm spending my resources, I'm utilizing my resources on them, but the return is not encouraging. So by the end of 20 people, for instance, in this class, I would have wasted a lot of my resources. Then just imagine in the same example, then I move to the next portion of the class, which are the female or the sisters. So I started approaching them, and majority of them responding to the product, which is lipstick, positively. Now in this particular example, you may have noticed that I've started from the brother's side, from the male side, and I'd spent a lot of resources there, but the return was not as encouraging as in the female side. Now in the same example, put the term of segmentation. Now, before I approach the class or approach the market, as I told you, assume that this class is our market. Before I approach this market or this class, what I did is I segmented the class. I divided the class into segments. Now, based on the nature of my product, as I told you, my product is, for instance, a lipstick. So based on the nature of the product, I divided the market based on one of the variables, which is called gender. And now I have two segments or two small clusters in the class, or two smaller markets in the class. One are the males and one are the females. Now common sense says that if I'm the producer of a female oriented product or a lipstick, I'd have to totally ignore the male cluster or the male segment. So I started directly from the female side. Now you see that I have saved a lot of my time and a lot of my resources based on applying only one minor small variable of segmentation. So today we're going to discuss it in more detail: how to do segmentations, what are the bases of segmentations, what are the variables that we have to keep in mind, and which variables should be considered at which time. Followed by segmentation, the next very related topic is called targeting. Now take the same example that I've given in segmentation a while ago. You have divided the market into two segments, the males and the females, and your product is supposed a males oriented product. You are producing a shaving razor. Now in the two segments that we had just created, the males and the females, which one would be my most appropriate segment? The males, because I'm producing the Gillette razors, or in the example of the lipstick, the most appropriate segment for me would be the female part. Now, in these two segments, the males and the females, the one that I want to approach, or the one that will accept my product or buy my product, or the one that has the capacity and the willingness to buy my product, is called a target market, or is called targeting. What is it? Selecting a segment or segments that the company wants to entertain, that the company wants to approach, that the company wants to enter, is called targeting. So these two go side by side. First you segment the market, then find out the segment that is very much related and suitable for your product, and then you go and target them and start selling the product. On the other side of the slide, as you can see, there are two other terms or methods in marketing, and that we are going to discuss in the next part of the virtual lecture, but I'm going to quickly define them. Differentiation. Now, what differentiation is? In simple words, differentiation is what the producers do with the product. Now, normally when we produce the product, there is a very tough competition in the market. A lot of other people are producing the same product. And what will make our product famous, what will make our product successful is if your product looks different than the rest of the products in the market. Now, if you do something that makes your product look different from the rest of the products in the market, we call it differentiation. Let's see what the slide says. It says that differentiate the market offering to create superior customer value. So the way your product looks. So in simple words, just keep it in mind. Differentiation is when you play around with the product, the outlook of the product, the hardware of the physical outlook of the product, or whatever product you have. When you change it, when you redesign it, we call it differentiation. Why do we do that? Because we want the customers to quickly look at our product and think that our product is of superior quality, and our product would give them maximum value. Positioning is a more subjective term. Positioning, on the other hand, is when the producers don't do something with a product. When the producers actually do not change the outlook or the physical the physical shape of the product, but what they do is they actually change the way customer look at your product. So differentiation is when you change the product. Positioning is the way consumers think about your product, is more of an image in the minds of the customers, as it says as well, that position the market offerings in the minds of the target customer. So that depends on how you want to put an image of the product in the minds of customers. That depends on your total marketing and advertising strategies. For example, a very normal example that we will inshallah discuss again in the positioning is that the books have already stated, is the example of baby shampoo, like Johnson and Johnson baby shampoo. It was in the beginning introduced as a baby shampoo, but when the company noticed that a lot of mothers are also using the same shampoo, so what did they do is they repositioned the same shampoo. They did not change the product, they did not change the outlook of the product. It's exactly the same shampoo, but now they remarketed it in a more in a different way. For instance, previously they were marketing it a shampoo for babies, but when they noticed that mothers are also using it, so they started marketing it a shampoo that is equally beneficial for adults, that the shampoo that is equally beneficial for mothers as well. So the same shampoo was remarketed, repositioned in a way that the customers, particularly the mothers or the adults, started buying the shampoo as well. Why? Because the companies put a different image in the minds of the customers. So these are the four strategies: segmentation, dividing the market into smaller groups or clusters; targeting, selecting the segment or the cluster which is most suitable for your product; differentiation, playing around with the product, doing something with the outlook of the product; differentiation; and positioning, changing the perception of customers towards your product. So that is all about these four strategies. Today our focus would be on these two, as I mentioned to you. Now let's start with the first one, that is segmentation. How can we segment the market? Segmentation, there are many methods through which we can segment. In your book, we call it variables of segmentations. In some books, they call it the basis for segmentation. As you can see, there are four in your book, but I will explain them in a while, and I will explain six. Actually, one of them, the two of them are merged in one, and I want to explain the first from another book, and then I will come back to this one in a while. So what are the six bases of segmentation? Okay. We call it the basis of segmentation. Okay, so we have six. The first one is the same. We call it geographic segmentation, followed by demographic segmentation. Then we have psychographic segmentation. Then we have another one by the name of what do you call it? Demographic, geographic, demographic, psychographic, benefit sort segmentation, benefit sort segmentation. Then we have usage rate segmentation. Okay, these are the five. Actually, in your book, these two are grouped together. In your book, these two are called behavioral segmentation. I'll come to that in a while. So geographic is the same, demographic is the same, psychographic is the same, but behavioral is explained in another book as two different, as benefit sort and usage rate. So before I go back to the slide, I want to give you one single word for each one of them to explain what does it mean. So geographic would be a region of the world or location. I'll come to that in a while. Yeah, it is called location. Demographic is called characteristics of population. So you don't forget that. Psychographics in some books are called lifestyle. So these single words will help you understand and benefit sought, seeking or searching for benefits. And the last one, which is called usage rate, that is called usage rate is actually usage rate in simple words, but that is number related to number of number of not number of use, it will not look nice. Usage rate is that how much would you use the product. Okay, so if you look at these, it looks nice. Geographic segmentation in simple word is dividing the market based on the region of the world or based on location. We'll go to the slide in a while and they're explained in more detail, but for now, what is segmentation? These are the bases of segmentation, so don't forget. What is it? Geographic segmentation, dividing when you segment, what is segment? Clustering together, grouping together the bigger market. So when you divide the bigger market based on the regions of the world, based on the location, you followed geographic segmentation. Demographic segmentation, when you divide the market based on the characteristics of the population. Don't forget this word, characteristics of the population. We'll discuss what do you mean by characteristics of the population in a while. Then we have psychographic, when you divide the market based on the lifestyle of the people or the consumers or the customers. When you divide the market in the fourth one, benefit sought, when you divide the market based on what benefit the consumers are searching for in the products, what benefits the consumers are searching for in the product. And the last one, which is usage rate segmentation, you divide the market based on a group of customers based on how much they use the product, how often they use the product. Yeah, and there is one more, by the way, and we call it, which is not here. I would not write it in 6, it is a separate one, and that is called hybrid segmentation. So just keep this in mind. I will come to hybrid segmentation, which is not in your book, in a while. Okay, so that is a different one. Okay, let's go back to the slide and see the first one. What is geographic segmentation? What did I tell you about it? Geographic segmentation is when you divide the market based on the region of the world or the location. For example, dividing the whole country into states, dividing the whole country into cities, dividing the country into countries. Suppose country is your market. Dividing the country into colonies, into roads, and so on. The more you go deep in it, the narrower your segmentation will become. It can start even from a city. Suppose if your business is only in one city, how will you do geographic segmentation? You divide the whole city into smaller clusters based on the location. For example, in Selangor you can have this Gombak area, you can have Wangsa Maju area, you can have in Kuala Lumpur you have all these different areas. So when you divide the market based on these different areas, you follow geographic segmentations. A very common method that is used in geographic segmentation that started very early, we call it zip codes or zip. Yeah, what do we call it? We call it zip. Z-I-P. Okay, anybody knows what does it mean? Zip? Zip stands for what? Think about it for a while. What do you think? What is zip? Z-I-P. What is Z? What is I? And what is P? Any idea? By now you should have already googled it. Anyway, it is zone improvement plan. Anyway, that is just general knowledge for you people. This was introduced around in 1940s by a person by the name of Robert Moon. He introduced this in the United States, that the areas, the locations should be divided into zip codes, and that's why we have zip codes, the numbers, right? So anyway, when you divide the market based on even zip codes, we call it what? Geographic segmentation. So many factors or many sub variables are there, as you can see in front of this geographic segmentation. Go through it in the book and see what does it mean and how do we do that. Followed by geographic segmentation, we have demographic segmentation. What did I tell you about demographic segmentation? These are the characteristics of the population. For example, very common characteristics of the population, the first few which you must keep in mind is the age, the gender, I'm skipping this one, the age, the gender, the income level, the occupation, the education, the religion, the ethnicity, and so on. And this one is also a very important one, but it is related to, again, consumer behavior. The life cycle, when you at which stage of at which a stage of age you are you, for example, we call it babies, we call it tweens, we call it teens, we call it adults, we call it mature, and then we have old age, and so on. So which stage you are in, and different stage people are, the life stage people are grouped together in order to target them together. Of course, the product that you make for old age people, you cannot use the same strategies to approach the teens. So the teenagers are grouped together to target them differently, whereas the old age people are grouped together based on the life cycle stage in order to target them more appropriately. So, for example, different age group people are grouped together. If you are from a particular age, people who are below 5 are grouped together, people who are above 20 are grouped together, and so on. Genders are grouped together, the males and the females. That is the example that I gave in the beginning as well, a while ago. Different income groups are combined together. For example, those who are earning above 5,000 ringgits, those who are earning below 5,000 ringgits, those who are earning above 10,000 ringgits. Why do you group them together? Because you approach them together, because you market the product to them together. The product that you market to a person who is earning less than 1,000 ringgits is definitely different than the marketing that is done for a person who is earning more than 10,000 ringgits. You cannot market an expensive product to a person who is from a lower income level. Similarly, it is not suggested to market a very cheap product to a person who is from a very high income level. The same with the education and ethnicity and so on. Psychographic, as I told you, that one book says that it is related to the lifestyle. Different people lifestyles are different, and based on the lifestyle you group them together. For example, those who wake up early has a different lifestyle, those who sleep late at night have a different lifestyle, those people who go to the gym have a different lifestyle. The people who never see the face of the gym, you don't need to market the Adidas and the Nike products to them, or the sportswear to them. But the people who are players, the people who are athletes, the people who are having a lifestyle which is different than the others, you have to market different products to them. We have different social classes as well. For example, the upper class people, the middle class people, and the first class or the lower class people. So the product of the first class people are totally different than the product of the lower class people are absolutely different than the upper class people. I always give the example in the classes. I think I may have given to you as well. Go to, for example, the Gardens or Pavilion or KLCC, go to Louis Vuitton, go to Giorgio Armani, go to US Polo. You will see that those products are particularly made for the upper class people. Do you think that a person whose salary is less than 1,000 ringgits a month, he would go to Louis Vuitton to buy a $10,000 bag? Absolutely not. So marketing, grouping them in a different cluster and approaching them in a different way will definitely make your marketing strategy more successful. People now, you remember I told you here demographic characteristics of population. Here you can also write the characteristics of the personality. psychographic, the characteristics of personality. Different people have different personality traits based on your culture, based on your brought up, based on your country, and so on and so forth. So you based on the personality. But no, scholar says that psychographic segmentation is one of the most difficult segmentations because it is very subjective. It is extremely difficult to find out the personality traits of people and group them together. Moreover, what happened is that as we grow, our characteristics also changes a lot. Our likeness and dislikeness also changes. Our lifestyle changes a lot. So what is it? The psychographic is a tough one, but still it is one of the methods of segmentation. The behavior one here, they have in the behavior one in this book, both of them, the one that I mentioned, the benefit sought and the usage rate are here, as you can see. Benefit sought and the usage rate both are here, as you can see, benefit and usage rate. I hope you can see that, the usage rate and the benefit. But they have even added some more which are good. For example, segmenting people based on the occasion, segmenting people based on the status of the users. Are you loyal users or not users? Are you ex-customer or current customers or potential customers? The status of the loyalty. Are you very loyal to the company or less loyal? You recall back the, the diagram or the that I have explained to you when the status of the loyalty, for example, the butterflies and the strangers and so on. So based on that, you group them together. We will discuss these quickly in the coming slide in a while. So again, quickly showing you geographic, dividing the based on the location. Demographic based on the characteristics of the population, psychographic based on the characteristics of the personality, or behavioral based on these things, for example, location, benefit, usage rate, user status, and loyalty status. Now let's go and see what the slides have to say about it individually on all these four important variables used for segmentation. The first one talks about geographic and demographic segmentation. As I mentioned earlier, dividing the market based on geographical units. So we have already discussed that. Then we have demographic segmentation based on all these different variables as we explained in the last slide. Age and life cycle segmentation, they are grouped together because life cycle, age life cycle comes from an age. Based on different age groups, you are put in a different span of the life cycle. Gender, as we explained, if you are from male, you're a male, you are put in one group segment. If you're a female, you're put in another segment. Your income statements, there are a lot of income statements. Now those of you who will inshallah do their higher studies, your masters and your PhDs, you will see that, or those of you have already have seen a questionnaire. In the questionnaire, in the normal social sciences questionnaire, we have one section which is called demographic information. So that is a compulsory section, and we ask the respondents some basic information, not very sensitive, but basic information like the age, the gender, the education level, the religion, depending on the nature of the study. So this is important. This is an important part in the questionnaire as well. In psychographic, as you remember, even I told you a while ago that personality characteristics of the personality, demographic was the characteristics of the population, whereas psychographic is the characteristics of the personality of a person. So grouping the people based on the social class, the lifestyle, and the personality. Behavioral, here they have mentioned two, the occasion segmentation and benefit sort that I mentioned to you. Occasion segmentation is that when you divide the customers based on the occasion, for example, when the buyers get the idea to buy, when will they make the purchase, or when will they use the item. In our case, in easy terms, it would be like grouping the customers based on the festive seasons. For example, those customers who buy products on Eid, so you put them in one segment. Those people who buy products on Christmas or on Halloween, so that you put them on in a different segment. it is very much related. My example is very much related with another variable, demographic variable, as religion as well, or culture as well. So grouping the customers based on the occasion that they come and buy the product, you find out the occasion that normally they would come and buy the product, and you group them. And when the occasion is near, you start marketing to them. For example, when the festive season like Eid is near, you will see that in all the shopping malls they will start promoting, using different techniques. For example, the discounts and the coupons, and they will just try to attract you based on that occasion. So you will not normally see that in other days of the year. You will only see that closer to the two Eids that we have, or targeting another group of customers. For example, on New Year or on Christmas, they will also, for Chinese New Year, that is a very relevant example. Based on that occasion, they would even pile up the stock of all the Chinese related product that they would buy on that particular occasion. Dividing the benefit sort is dividing the customers based on the benefit that they are searching or seeking in a product. So if you know organizations, even small shops do that as well, but they may not know. I remember my own example. I wanted to buy a printer. I went to Mid Valley. There was an exhibition there, and there were many IT products, and I went to one of the printers stall, and they had a lot of printers in that stall. It was a big stall by Canon. So I went, and the first thing the sales representative asked me, concentrate. The first thing the sales representative asked me is that, what type of printer are you searching for? Are you searching for a laser printer, or you're searching for inkjet? Are you searching for a printer that can scan, or you're searching for just a printer that can print? You're searching for a color printer, or you're searching for a black and white printer? So see what the person is actually asking me. He is quickly trying to figure out what benefit the customer is seeking, so that they can put me in one segment. So the moment, there were a lot of printers in different parts of that stall, and the moment I told them that I was standing near one printer, and I was putting my hand on one printer as well, and the moment he asked me this question, I told him, I need a simple printer for my home, and concentrate. I need a printer that can scan as well, and it should be color. So I was standing in one rack, near one rack, and he told me that, okay, come follow me. I'll show you the printers that can fulfill your criteria. What did he do in that particular example? He quickly put me in a segment based on the benefit that I am searching for in a product. Now this relevant example, I'll come to the same example, my own example, in a while, where we will explain the usage rate as well, which is, I think, in the next slide here. Usage rate. Before I go to the status, I will explain the usage rate. So in the same example, the salesperson is asking me that, okay, so you want a color printer, it can scan as well. The next question that the person asked me very quickly is that, okay, do you want the printer for your home, or you want the printer for your office? Now concentrate. Why did he ask me this question? He asked me this question to quickly figure out the usage rate. How much I'll be using the product. Would I be a light, medium, or heavy users? When you compare the printers bought by business users and the printers bought by home users, like normal consumers, you will see that even the sizes are different. The home printers are comparatively smaller, and they are used for light to medium, not even medium, light use. Like the printer that I have in my home, I use it like once in a while, maybe once in a week, or once in a month, or a few times in a month. But the printer that we have in our office, you come and see that if they permit you. That is a huge printer. I think I told you in one of the classes as well. That is a huge printer. That is almost half of the side of your class. It's that big. It can print hundreds of copies within a minute. But my printer in the home, if you give them a command of 100 pages, you just have to go take your meal and offer a few rakats of salat, or do whatever you want to do. After 1 hour, you will see, and it will be in the first page. So why the person asked me the question? He asked me the question because he wanted to put me in the segment based on the usage rate. So the moment I told him, we were walking towards the printers with the scanner and the color printer. But the moment I told him that I want a printer that I'll be using in my home only for normal use, so he quickly told me that, okay, these are the printers that is suitable for you, rather than showing me the big and expensive printer. So as I told you in the same example, the salesperson quickly segmented me based on the benefit that I'm seeking and based on the usage rate. And a lot of salespeople do that, and you may have encountered that as well. For example, looking at your status. Those of you who have loyalty cards of different shopping malls. For example, I have a loyalty card of Watson. I have loyalty card of Jesco as well. Now, I remember when I go back to my country and I have a break of around a month or two, and then I come back to Jesco and they swipe my card. The first thing I see on their screen is welcome, welcome after a long time, or something like that, or welcome. But when I'm a very repeat customers, I go like to Jesco to buy grocery every week or every second day. Now, when they swipe my card, you know what do they say? Good customer. Now, what is that? They have segmented me based on the status. If you are a non-user, if you are an ex-user, if you are a potential customer, if you are the first time customer, they will give you the same kind of note. We welcome you to our company. I hope you will have a pleasant experience with us, and all those things. If you're regular users, they will give you promotions, they will give you vouchers, they will give you discounts, they will give you smiles. They would they would make you happy because you're doing business with them every day. So you cluster them based on, and the moment these companies swipe your card, they get complete details about you. That is in online and brick and mortar both. The loyalty status, if depending on if you're loyal, what level of loyalty you have. You're a very loyal customer, or you're just a normal customer, so they would treat you differently. Moreover, consumers or people can be loyal to brands. We can be loyal to stores, and we can be loyal to companies as well. For example, you're only loyal to a brand, a particular brand, but not the company. You only buy Head and Shoulders shampoo. You don't buy their toothpaste. You don't buy their cereal. You don't buy the milk that they produced. You don't buy the chocolate that they produce. You only buy the Head and Shoulders shampoo. Now, for example, you go to a particular store. I'll give you my own example. I told you, some of you as well, that previously I was living on this Jalan Gombak, so I would go to this Wong Samaju Jesco for around 2 to 3 years. But now I moved to a very far away area, like around 20 kilometers away from Wong Samaju Jesco. And what do? I still come to the same Jesco. Why? Because I have certain level of attachment and loyalty with that particular store. And people sometimes have loyalty with the companies as well. A very common case that normally I give to my student is with regard to loyalty with the companies is the case of Apple company. People are so loyal with the Apple company that they even don't look at the next product that they launch, either it is a good product or a bad product. They would just go and buy the product if that is launched by the company that they are loyal to. So you group them differently based on the level of the loyalty. Okay. Now, companies also do multiple segmentations. For example, we also call it in some books, a name of microsegmentation can be used. For instance, you identify segment. The smaller the segment is, as I told you, the better it would be to target the customer. The better it would be to understand the needs of that particular segment. So organizations normally would do segmentation in a more narrower manner, like we call it micro segmentation. Another thing that I mentioned in here, if you remember, I wrote something which is called hybrid segmentation, very much related to that, slightly related to that. Hybrid segmentation, which I think is not in your book, is a method through which you mix two or more than two type of segmentation. Mixing two or more types of segmentations. So any idea how? Think, how can we mix these two? I'll give you one example, right? For example, we call it geodemographic segmentation. What is geodemographic segmentation? Yeah, geodemographic segmentation. Geodemographic segmentation, it's actually one word, right? I just put a hyphen there. Geodemographic segmentation is a segmentation where you mix these two. Any example? Example? Any example? Think. What could be demographic? Geographic is location. For example, IIM is a location, and demographic is characteristics of population. For example, gender. So think of an example. Come on, hurry up, hurry up. Think. Anybody? Raise your hands, those who know the answer. Great. So, for example, we have location, IIM. We have demographic is age, or as gender or age. So how can we make that segmentation? We call it female or male students of IIM. This sentence represents what type of segmentation? Hybrid segmentation. What type of hybrid segmentation? Geodemographic segmentation. The geography is there, the location is there, or for example, not IIM, male students of Malaysia. Yeah, male students of Kuala Lumpur, or female students of Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur. What is that? This is called geodemographic. Yeah. So you can mix any of these. The more you mix it, the more the better it is, the narrower it is, but the most difficult it is. So you have to keep in mind that hybrid segmentation, micro segmentation is really good, but it is extremely difficult for the companies. Okay, now when it comes to segmentation for consumers and business market, as you know that there is a difference between consumer and business market, and we discussed that even consumer behavior as well, that consumers and the example as well, I told you that normally consumers require things in small quantity, they spend less, they purchase it for different purposes, whereas businesses usually would buy it in large quantity, they would spend more, and they would use it for different other purposes, particularly for business purpose. Now, most of the variables that we explain in the consumer market are the same for the business market as well, but some others are explained here as well. For example, you divide the business market based on the operating characteristics, their purchasing approaches, some of the situational factors, and some of the personal characteristics. So these are some of the key additional points with the others that we discussed a while ago. Similarly, when we go across the borders, segmentation becomes even tougher. Segmenting a small market, segmenting a limited number of customers is comparatively easy. Segmenting a group of customers where the cultural, the religious, and the personal characteristics are somehow known, but when you go across the borders, internationally or globally, of course the diversity increases, and that makes the segmentation even more difficult. Of course, geographic segmentation will be the same, dividing the market, international global market, based on the geographical location. For example, Asian countries, for example, European countries, for example, American countries. When you group them together, we call it geographic segmentation. Other factors that people keep in mind, the businesses keep in mind in international businesses when they are segmenting internationally, is the economic factors. For example, economically developed countries, developing countries, or underdeveloped countries. Similarly, we have the political and legal factors as well. Countries with political instability, countries with political stability, countries with the system of democracy, countries with the system of dictatorships, and so on and so forth. Countries with tough legal rules, laws, and laws, countries with relaxed and lenient laws. So you group them together. Cultural factors, countries with more or less similar cultures, for example, individualists or collectivists. For example, we have our South Asian countries, more or less the same culture. We have European countries with more or less the same cultural factors. So you group them together. Keep it in mind that we can even use these one in our consumer segmentation or in our local rather than international segmentation as well. For example, I'll give geographic is the same as we discussed, but for example, economic factors that you keep in economic factors even in a local market. You go to a particular state, you go to a particular state in a country because that state is rich, that state has a buying power, that state in that state people with higher income level or buying power are living compared to another state which is far away, which is economically not developed, where the people are not capable of buying products. And even in a single country, we have political and legal situations. For example, take an example of Kuala Lumpur, take an example of Sabah and Sarawak. So we have different legal structures there, we have different cultural structures there. Another term that is here, which is called intermarket or cross-market segmentation, is where you group the consumers based on the homogeneity, irrespective of their location. So you totally take out the geographic part and you group the customers based on the similarities, but mostly in the online businesses. What do? Is they would not prefer, they would not focus more on the geographic in some, not in all, but in some they would not focus on the geographic part of the segmentation, but they would rather group the customers together based on the demography or psychographic factors. You have to keep in mind these few important things which will make your segmentation, the process of segmentation, more effective. You have to keep that in mind in order to come up with an effective segment. The first one is, these are 5, but I will tell you 3 which should be easy for you to remember as well. Let me tell you the 3 first. So we have the 3, what do we call them? I call it, okay, I call it a 3M formula. What is the 3M formula? The first M is the first M is meaningful. The second M is measurable. The third M is marketable. So these are the 3 M's that you have to keep in mind in order to segment. Yeah, these are the 3 M's that you have to keep in mind in order to segment effectively. Your segment should be meaningful. It should have some. You should not have a useless kind of segment. It should be measurable. You should have the number. You should have the resources to measure the number of people. You cannot just say the people in the people in the continent of Asia. Now, even that is measurable, but still it is not approachable. And it should be marketable. Approachability, I talked about it, is marketability. So anyway, here back to that, it should be measurable, the same measurability. It should be accessible. You should reach there. It should be substantial. It should be enough for you to generate income. It should be differentiable. There must be a difference between one segment or another segment. Otherwise, why would you make a segment? If there are similarities, you don't make segments. If all the people in a region are males, you don't need to segment it based on demographic, that the demographic factor, gender, all of them are males. So there are similarities. You don't need to you don't need to segment them. Actionable is more or less like marketable. You have to have the resources to take action, and the consumer must have the capability or capacity to take action back in terms of buying your product. That was pretty long. We talked about segmentation. Now let's move to the next one, which is targeting. Target marketing, market targeting, or also referred to targeting, is a method where you select the most appropriate segment for your company, and then you go and approach them and start marketing and selling your product. Some of the things that you keep in targeting is the segment size and the growth. There must be a potential for the growth, the structure and the attractiveness, and the objectives and the resources. When you select a particular target, you make sure that you have enough resources and the segment is attractive enough and the segment has a potential for the growth. Now, target market are the set of buyers sharing common needs or characteristics that the company decide to serve. Now, recall back, what did I tell you about segmentation? Segmentation is the process of dividing group of consumers or customers with common needs and characteristics. So you already segmented the market. Now you find out the segment that you want to serve. So common needs and characteristics, and another key point is serving. The company wants to serve. Now there are four important methods or strategies that we use in targeting. The first one is called differentiated marketing, then undifferentiated marketing, then differentiated marketing, then concentrated marketing, and followed by micro marketing. They are also called mass marketing, segmented marketing, niche marketing, local or individual marketing. Now, if you look at this particular timeline, you remember I told you that we'll have a timeline like an arrow. So the more you move from the left to the right, you will see that your segment is getting narrower. You have the number of customers that you are going to target becomes smaller. So here, as you can see, the undifferentiated or mass marketing, you treat the customers as one big segment. You give them the same product. You don't change them. You don't change the product based on the changes in the groups of the customers. So you consider that the whole market is the single market. For example, if I have to target the whole class, and I produce a product which is we call it standard product. Standard. Keep the word in mind. It's a standardized product. Normally, in the standardized products, we follow the undifferentiated marketing. Same product for all the customers. Followed by segmented marketing, where you divide the market, select a group of customers, and then you change the product based on the likes and dislikes or the characteristics of the segment. For example, Samsung Note is for a different segment. Samsung Edge is for a different segment. Samsung Normal is for a different segment. iPhone Plus is for a different segment. iPhone Normal is for a different segment, and iPhone Special Edition or the Budget Edition is for a different segment. So you design based on that's why we have different colors, that's why we have different pricing strategies, that's why we have different ingredients used in the product. We do that if we are following the differentiated marketing strategy or segmented marketing strategy of targeting. Then followed by concentrated or niche marketing. Now, concentrated marketing is a marketing strategy where the companies find out a group of customers that are left over, that are not entertained, that are special, to make it positive, that you want to target. For a good example of that would be if you are producing a product and the focus is only on the people who are special people, who are disabled people, for example, the producers of wheelchairs, for example, the producers of artificial legs and so on. So these are targeting the customers who are a special group of customers. So the product that you produce for niche are not normally purchased by the usual or normal consumers. Micro marketing is the latest method, and the next slide will talk about the extreme of micro marketing. It is also called local or individual marketing, where you design the product based on individual customers' likeness and dislikeness. I remember I gave you an example in one of the classes where there are companies in the United States. I went to one of the outlets and I noticed that they had a machine for soft drinks, and where you could make around 1,000 types of different 1,000 types of different drinks for yourself. So you combine different tastes and you design the drink for yourself. It's not the same Pepsi or the same Coke or the same Fanta or the same 7-Up. It's the drink that you design. So that is what individualized marketing. In a lot of companies, they have included a blend of micro or individual marketing. For example, take an example of the technological companies. You go to the website of the Dell and or the website of almost all these companies, the gadget companies. You can actually somehow custom design the product. So I'm using the word customized here. I use the word standardized. So the product you produce here is the same for everyone. The product you produce here is different or slightly different for everyone based on the likeness and dislikeness of the customers. As I told you that there is an example, there is a case in your book, the case of Puma company. What did they do is they asked the youth particularly that go to a website and design your own shoes. If you look at it, this is a custom design shoes. You print it, you paint it, you put numbers on it, you put whatever it is. They say paint by numbers for the cool kids. So the people, that is an extreme of customization, right? You design the shoes, the sneakers for yourself, for in order to make your product look different than the rest of the products. These are the strategies of targeting, and we have one more. I think this is something that I will explain inshallah in the next virtual lecture.